You are? All right.
Oh, 6 people.
Everyone has their own method when it comes to studying for those horrible midterms or grueling finals.
I like to pull an all-nighter, drinking 2 shots of espresso every hour to help me stay up.
Well, I like to get a good night's sleep and eat a healthy breakfast in the morning.
Regardless of the method, everyone's goal is to study the longest and study the hardest.
Adderall should not be considered against the academic honor code at UGA.
As an argument to Adderall being considered academically dishonest, we will be talking about the different ways that Adderall is defined and how Adderall doesn't give you superpowers and how students who take Adderall value their grades.
The way that you define, classify, or label Adderall affects the sale and the use of the drug tremendously. Our opponents stated that it was a street drug and that it should be banned from UGA because of this. By labeling it a street drug and banning it because it's a street drug, you create a black market for Adderall, making it even more of a street drug. In our defense that it's not a street drug, we examined the symptoms-based test in order to diagnose patients with Adderall, with ADHD in order to get a prescription for Adderall. One is a self-report, with questions by a doctor and the patient answering accordingly. The next is a neuropsychological test, which is basically an oversimplified computer game. The patient is given a simple task, and any mistakes made may reveal symptoms of ADD or ADHD. The University of Kentucky conducted a study with 3 groups. One legitimately diagnosed with ADHD or ADD. One was offered $45 if they could fake out the test based on a 5-minute read-up prior to the test. And the third was a control group with neither ADHD or an offer to fake out the test. The results were that the fakers and the actual sufferers of ADD and ADHD could not be distinguished by the self-report. In addition, the computer base was equally deficient. The CDCP reports that only 2 to 4% of adults actually have ADD or ADHD. Now think of all the people you know with an Adderall prescription. It seems like a lot of prescriptions for such a small amount of the population.
We talked to an average sophomore with a prescription to Adderall. We asked him about the lengths one has to go to obtain such a prescription. He explained to us that during the 4-hour-long, grueling psychological test, it was nearly impossible for the average person not to display symptoms of ADD or ADHD. He said it was harder to concentrate on than the SAT. He said it was like he needed Adderall just to take the neuropsychological test. Our argument is that Adderall cannot be classified as a street drug when prescriptions are easier to find than it is.
Our second main point as to why Adderall should not be against UGA's academic honesty code is that the use of Adderall only enhances your innate abilities. The National Institute on Drug Abuse says that when you take Adderall, you're not improving your cognitive abilities at all. Studies show that the only thing that people who take the prescription benefit from when they don't actually have ADHD is the wakefulness that the drug provides. The same study also shows that those students who abuse the drug end up having lower GPAs in high school and college than other students. Therefore, they're not getting an unfair advantage.
That's right, Reagan. In fact, Adderall only has the same effects as many of the things we already take to study, such as caffeine and energy drinks. We may view Adderall as, and I quote, a stimulant of the central nervous system which causes alertness, wakefulness, and extreme focus. Naturally, there's downsides. Irritability, restlessness, heart problems, and insomnia. It sounds like a super drug, doesn't it? What if I told you that's actually the FDA's description of coffee? If you compare the 2 descriptions between coffee and Adderall, they are nearly verbatim. All these stimulants do is help us reach our maximum potential. I mean, if we're going to ban Adderall, we may as well ban Jittery Joes down the street.
Students take Adderall to focus and do well because they value their academics. A study by the Pediatric Academic Society found that 1 in 5 college students at Ivy League schools misuse prescriptions as academic aid. These students say that they take Adderall for the right reasons, which include trying to stay more focused inside and out of the classroom. Sure, these students are attracted to the idea of having a higher GPA with what seems to be less effort. But the fact is that they value their academics so much that they use additional tools to help them be more successful. Priyanka will now continue on this subject.
One university student who takes Adderall once in a while states it helps me stay focused and be more efficient, which is very helpful with the chaos of college. A recent article from CNN spoke to students who use Adderall, and they gave their personal accounts on the usage of Adderall for academic purposes. Students explain that the harder that academics get, the more tempted they are to taking Adderall to reach their goals and get closer to their success. They also find that they have more time to join extracurricular activities, seeing that Adderall helps them manage their time better and not spend so much time with academics.
In conclusion, we are not arguing on how society has viewed the use of Adderall in the past.
Instead, we are simply arguing the reasons that Adderall should not be against UGA's water good.
Robin Williams once stated in the Dead Poet Society, "There's a time for daring and there's a time for caution. A wise man will know when to use which one."
The facts are in. The time for caution's over. It's time for UGA to take a daring act.
Then you put up the mic drop slide. Future reference. I'm not entirely sure y'all understand how mic drops work.